May is on its way, and with it, a lot of great games are coming out. So let's talk about the best stuff that's coming out on Xbox One and PS4. Kicking things off, let's talk PS4 with Detroit Become Human, the newest game to come out from Quantic Dream and David Cage. Now, if those names aren't familiar to you, these are the same people behind the games Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain, which kind of brings up some debates for some people about whether or not they really count as games. They're kind of like interactive movies where you make decisions and deal with QuickTime events and see how the story takes shape based on the decisions you've made. Now, each of these games all cover very different kinds of storylines, and in Detroit Become Human's case, it's a story about androids that are beginning to gain sentience and sort of bringing up that whole debate once again in Cyberpunk of what actually constitutes being human, and you go through the trials and tribulations of these characters. Now, like Heavy Rain, this one is going to feature multiple playable characters, each with their different point of view and stories that are going on and are going to be intersecting, and one of the really interesting aspects about this, like in Heavy Rain, is the fact that characters can die before the end of the story comes. So depending on what you do and how well you play the game, it's possible that some characters won't reach the end and the story will change based on that. Now, I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Quantic Dream games because while I've enjoyed each of them by the end of the game, they definitely have their flaws and problems. But I've always viewed each game as being sort of this stepping stone into making a bigger and better game that embraces this idea of multiple choices and seeing the story branch in so many ways. There's no promise that Detroit Become Human is going to be that title that actually achieves this goal, but I have the hope that it's still going to do better than the ones before it, and we're going to see more and more interesting control over the narrative. Next, let's start talking about games that are coming out on both systems, starting with the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection coming out on May 29th. Now, growing up, I was a huge Street Fighter fan. That was a big franchise for me and really shaped my current love for the genre. And if you grew up with it too, you'll know that there are a ton of Street Fighter games that were made. Don't be fooled by the most recent one being called 5. There are so many different versions of all the different games. This collection includes 12 of them. It has the original Street Fighter, 5 different versions of Street Fighter 2, 3 versions of 3, and 3 versions of Alpha. At some point we have to put What's really cool about this collection too is that not only is it giving you the ability to play through all these different iterations and play your favorite ones, but 4 of them are also getting online multiplayer support. So if you're a big fan of some of the final versions of Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, you can now play those on a modern system online with other players. And some of these games did get this treatment before in standalone releases, but for some of them, this is the first time that's really become an official, actual option that Capcom is giving you, like for Street Fighter Alpha. Like I said earlier, the 30th Anniversary Collection will be making its way to the Xbox One, PS4, and also Nintendo Switch near the end of the month on the 29th. Check it out. Next, we've got another game that is another port situation, but it's an HD remake, not a collection, so totally different thing entirely, and that's Dark Souls Remastered. Now, Dark Souls is not actually the first game in the Souls series, that's Demon Souls technically, but it is the game that really caused the franchise to blow up in popularity, and there's a good reason for that. It's a really, really good game, and if you guys have been curious about the series before and just never got a chance to try any of them, this is a great time to get an introduction to the series, because while there have been more games since that have made tweaks and improvements to some of the gameplay and to certainly have their strengths over the original Dark Souls, there's certain aspects about that game that haven't really been recaptured since that makes it really still one of the strongest titles in the series. The level design is genius, the overall structure of the world and the way everything just kind of interconnects will just blow your mind the first time you play through it. And while it certainly doesn't do the best job of teaching you all the mechanics early on up front, it does do a great job of slowly instilling different practices and different just methods of ways to play the game that makes it easier and easier upon every replay. Now, if you haven't played Dark Souls and you do have this whole kind of image in your head of it being this super hard, incredibly tough game, that's not entirely fair. A lot of people give it that rap, but a large part of it is because a core part of the game is the fact that you're going to die a lot by design. The game is just going to be straight up unfair to you in a lot of situations, but it causes you to learn more and more about the gameplay through repetition, and it's honestly this really rewarding experience once you're able to tackle and defeat some of its toughest bosses. Seriously guys, if you haven't tried the franchise yet, jump in on this one now because it is excellent. Bloodborne aside, which is kind of its own side thing, I consider the original Dark Souls to be the best one in the franchise. Don't miss out. Next, let's talk an Xbox One exclusive with State of Decay 2 coming out on May 22nd. Now, back when there were way too many zombie games coming out, one of the ones that really separated themselves from the rest of the fold was the original State of Decay. And it wasn't the most polished game out there. It didn't have the best visuals. It definitely had its share of bugs and clipping and weird things happening visually, but it was the gameplay that really made this game shine and blow up. It was this combination of genre traditional third-person action, shooter, survival stuff, but then it added in simulation aspects where you're building bases, light RPG mechanics where you have character skills, and open-world exploration. It did all of this so well that it ended up outshining a lot of other games that were asking for twice as much money to purchase. And while it balanced all these different genres and mechanics really well, it was kind of countered a little bit by how unpolished it was. And so hopefully with this next one having more time and more funding thrown into it, we're going to get a better experience, which based on recent trailers and gameplay examples we've seen, looks to be the case. And thankfully it's also coming out at a time that we don't have nearly as many zombie games crowding the market. Now I'm gonna cheat a little bit on this next one because it is coming to Xbox One and PS4 eventually, but May is the month that it comes out on PC, but there was no way I wasn't gonna talk about this game because I'm so excited for it, and that's Pillars of Eternity 2. The first Pillars game was a result of that time when a lot of smaller studios started kickstarting games and looking for fan support, and it's honestly one of the best games to come out of that movement. It's this love letter to old school Infinity Engine style RPGs like Baldur's Gate, and it recaptures not only that feeling, but also adopts new mechanics that honestly just work way better as a video game than trying to just copy something that was done in D&D and doesn't always translate super well. Now, I loved this first game, and it had plenty of content before any kind of expansions, but Pillars 2 is already shaping up to be a much larger experience, not to mention way better looking. They're definitely putting a lot more effort into cleaning this one up, adding tons more content. What's really cool about it too is that whereas the first one was kind of this traditional medieval fantasy kind of vibe to it, Pillars 2 is still using that same setting, but it's shifting it somewhere that has a little more of a pirate vibe going on. You have your own ship, you customize it, you hire a different crew, and you of course have your companions that you build relationships with over time and tackle the game's huge story. Now, a little bit of a warning here, if this is starting to sound like something you want to check out and you haven't played the original one yet, pick it up and play through it now because it does have choices that might affect stuff going on in the second one, and the story is a continuation. So grab that one right now and get ready for Pillars 2 on May 8th.